It can be very difficult to use a measuring tape and know to the millimeter how high your saddle is.
Hey guys, today we're doing some riding in the beautiful Yarra Ranges in rural Victoria in Australia. And I had a question from a viewer, Christos, which was, how do you adjust your saddle height when you're out on the road to make sure you get the perfect saddle height? And in today's video, I want to explain the method that I use to get the perfect saddle height without even needing measuring tape. So it's a very quick and reliable method to ensure that you can get the optimal saddle height. Now, having the correct saddle height can be the difference between being able to generate a lot of power comfortably and being in a lot of pain and not being able to push big watts.
Now, before you go on your ride, use a little bit of electrical tape to mark your current saddle height and place the tape on the seat post so it's flush with your frame. This is important because even 1 or 2 mils can make a big difference in terms of your saddle height. Also, make sure your saddle is level from the very back to the nose of the saddle. So you can use a spirit level, or you can use the free bubble level app on your iPhone just to get that measurement. In my previous video, I talk about modifying saddle tilt, but for now, we'll just keep it simple. We'll keep it level and we'll focus on the saddle height. Now, the way this method works is by using cues from your body as to whether your saddle is too high or too low. Here are those cues. If you notice your hips are rocking from side to side and you have to really stretch your legs down to push the pedals, and your pedal stroke is a little bit choppy and not smooth across the whole 360-degree rotation, that usually means your saddle is too high. On the contrary, if you feel like your leg is very bent even when you're fully extended at the bottom of the pedal stroke, and you feel like your quads are doing a lot of the work, but your glutes and hamstrings are not activated, and it almost feels like you're in a squat position when you're pedaling, and it feels hard to push big power, those are cues that your saddle might be too low. Now, once you've identified from those cues whether your saddle is too high or too low, this is where the tape comes into play. If your saddle is too low, you're going to move your saddle up just a tiny bit so that there's a little crack of your seat post showing. It should be about 1 or 2 mils, but it actually doesn't matter exactly how much you've moved your saddle up, as long as it's a small amount. And from there, you're going to take the tape off and reapply the tape so it's flush again. If your saddle is too high, you're essentially going to reverse the order of those steps. You're going to first take the tape off and reapply the tape so that there's a small crack showing. Again, around 1 or 2 mils is fine. And then you're going to reduce the height of your saddle until the tape is flush. Now you're going to ride for another 5 minutes or so and notice those cues. Then you want to simply repeat the same process to either adjust the saddle up or down, making sure the tape is now flush again with your frame. And when you reach the correct saddle height, it should feel like you've got a good balance of quad and hamstring activation during the pedal stroke. Your pedal stroke should feel smooth, and it should feel like you can generate a lot of power without your hips rocking too much. Your hips should feel quite stable, and you should generally feel comfortable on the saddle. The reason I like this method after 15 years of fiddling around with my saddle height is that it can be very difficult to use a measuring tape and know to the millimeter how high your saddle is, whereas this approach is very systematic and you will very quickly find your optimal saddle height with this method. One thing to note though is if you're new to cycling or you feel like your saddle height could be miles off, use the Le Monde formula to get a ballpark figure of your saddle height. To do this, measure your inseam, which you can do by putting a book between your legs and measuring the distance from the top of the book to the ground. In my case, my inseam is 86 centimeters, and then you multiply that by 0.883, which for me gives me a ballpark saddle height of 75.9. Again, this is just a starting point, and then from there, you can use the method described in this video to perfect your saddle height. Keep in mind that saddle height is only one component of a proper bike fit, but it is a really crucial component. Another crucial component is your saddle choice. I like saddles that have a 3D printed surface, and on my main road bike, my Tantan, I've been using this saddle from Ryet.
Thanks everyone who's been buying the Ryet 3D printed saddles. I've tried over 10 saddles in the last 15 years, and this is my all-time GOAT saddle. And a lot of you guys have been buying it on AliExpress. So thanks so much for that. And I'll put a link in the description for the saddle. If you like these bike fitting guides, make sure to like and subscribe.